Imagine reaching for the stars, literally. Today, we're doing a deep dive into, well, a pretty historic moment for India and really for space exploration globally. We're talking about Group Captain Subhanshu Shukla. He's a distinguished Indian Air Force test pilot, and he's getting ready for the Axiom mission for AX-4 to the International Space Station. Yeah, so in this deep dive, we want to unpack his whole journey. How does someone even become an astronaut? What's the significance of this mission, nationally, internationally? And what's he actually going to do up there? Because it's not just a joyride. There's real science, even cultural stuff involved. It's a big collaboration too. U.S., Poland, Hungary, all involved. Our plan is really to pull out the key insights from all the information we have so you get the full picture of why this is such a big deal. Okay, so let's start with man himself. Before the mission, who is Group Captain Subhanshu Shukla? Right, so he was born back in October 1985 in Lucknow. He went through the National Defense Academy, then the Air Force Academy, joined the IAF's fighter stream in 2006, and get this, over 2,000 flight hours. We're talking sophisticated jets.
Su-30 MKI, MiG-21, MiG-29, Jaguar, Hawk, that's serious experience. Plus, he just made Group Captain rank in March 2024.
Yeah, and that background, it's not just about logging hours, Flying something like the Su-30 MKI, that's incredibly demanding. It builds this really critical ability to handle extreme forces, make split-second decisions under intense pressure, manage complex systems, skills that are, well, exactly what you need for spaceflight. Everything is critical up there.
That makes total sense. So, okay, highly decorated fighter pilot.
Mm-hmm.
How do you go from that to prepping for the ISS? That leap seems, well, massive.
Well, the path really kicked off in 2019. He applied to ISRO, India's space agency, and their Institute of Aerospace Medicine. Apparently, thousands applied, but he was selected as one of the final 4 for astronaut training, which is incredible in itself. Then, 2020 to 2021, he did basic training in Russia at the Yuri Gagarin Cosmonaut Training Center.
Ah, yes, the Star City facility. Legendary, yeah. Exactly. But it didn't stop there. More training back in India at the Bangalore facility. He even got an M.Tech from ISCAIC Bangalore during all this. Then, the big announcement in February 2024, named officially by the Prime Minister for the Gaganyaan Astronaut Corps. And now, Axiom Space picked him as pilot for AX-4. He's joining quite a crew. Peggy Whitson, U.S. veteran, she's commanding. Then Stosibos Wisniewski from Poland, and Tibor Kapu from Hungary.
What's really fascinating looking at why him is the combination of factors. It's not just one thing. Those 2,000-plus flight hours, especially the test pilot experience, that's huge.
Yeah.
It means he hasn't just flown jets, he's pushed them, evaluated them. That adaptability is key for space.
Okay, so it's about understanding the limits of the machine.
Precisely. Then there's the academic side, BSc, the M.Tech from ISC. He clearly has the analytical horsepower for the scientific work. And don't forget the international training. Russia, sure, but aligning with ESA and NASA standards, too, shows he can work in these complex, multinational teams, add in top performance in physical, cognitive, psychological tests, simulations. You see why he was a standout candidate?
Right, ticks all the boxes, and then some. And the pride in India must be immense. He's going to be the first Indian on the ISS, the very first, and only the second Indian in space ever, after Rakesh Sharma way back in 1984. You can just imagine 1.4 billion people watching.
Absolutely. And connecting that to the bigger picture, this mission isn't just historic for India, it's also historic for Poland. Sołusz will be their first astronaut on the ISS.
Wow, okay.
And for Hungary, too, with Tibor Kapu, it's their first astronaut on the station as well. So the real insight here is how spaceflight is becoming more collaborative, bringing new nations into orbital research. It's expanding the frontier together.
That's a great point, is broadening the whole endeavor. So, okay, he gets up there. What's he actually going to be doing for those 14 days on the AX-4 mission? It's packed, right? At least 7 experiments.
Yeah, it's a busy schedule. And some really interesting science. For example, he'll be doing crop growth studies, trying to sprout mum and methi in microgravity.
Like space gardening.
Sort of. The key thing is figuring out how to grow food reliably for long trips, like to Mars. It's fundamental. He'll also study tardigrades, water bears, those tiny creatures that can survive almost anything.
Yeah, those things are indestructible.
Exactly. Understanding how they survive extreme conditions, radiation, vacuum, that could have huge implications, maybe for preserving organs on Earth or developing better radiation shielding for spacecraft.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's work with microalgae, cyanobacteria, basically testing tiny organisms as potential life support or even food sources, closing the resource loop in space.
Making space habitats more self-sufficient.
Right. Plus, research on muscle loss and cognitive function, always critical for astronauts. How does microgravity affect the body and brain over time? And human factors research like how do long periods looking at screens impact astronauts? How does microgravity affect neural pathways? All vital data for future missions.
So it's a real mix of biology, physiology, psychology.
It is. Each experiment tackles a core challenge of living and working in space.
And it's interesting, his work isn't just in space. He's done groundwork back here too, right? Things like papers on Mars habitats.
Yeah, he co-authored work on something called the BEHEME concept, inflatable habitats for Mars, and also researched making bricks from simulated Martian soil, thinking about building structures on other planets.
Very forward-looking stuff, planning for the next steps.
And he's taking a bit of India with him, too, culturally speaking, planning to do yoga up there, carry some cultural items, even talk live with students back home.
That's wonderful. It connects the mission back to Earth, makes it relatable. It highlights the human element, not just the technical side.
Yeah, exactly. You know, this really underscores how modern space missions operate. It brings up this important point about international collaboration. Yes, it's a massive milestone for India, absolutely. Shows their growing capabilities in human spaceflight. But it's just as much a landmark for cooperation. US, Poland, Hungary, India, all working together on the ISS. It shows how these big, ambitious space goals are increasingly becoming shared human goals, not just national ones.
That's a powerful way to put it, a
Yeah.
shared human enterprise. So as we think about Group Captain Shukla up there orbiting Earth, it really does feel like a shift, doesn't it? It's not just about planting flags anymore. It's about collaboration, about tackling these huge questions together. These experiments, even if they seem specific, like growing methy or studying water bears, what new possibilities do they open up? Not just for maybe living on Mars someday, but potentially for breakthroughs that could improve life right back here on our own planet. Something to think about.